Morning. It is 7 o'clock here at my office. I typically get here between 6 and 6:30. I made the intro to the new thing that me and my wife are kind of tackling, the Road to a Million. Wanted to get on here and kind of walk you through exactly what we're doing and how we're going to do that. So right now I have a few different goals. When we left the other business, I mentioned that we weren't able to take anything with us. We had two different clients toward the end just bail out on paying us. And yes, I've got liens on their house, so maybe eventually I'll get paid. But it was big sums. It was to the tune of about 40 grand. And at the same time, we were purchasing a flip, and we've got these people that lend to us, and they had lent to us about a week before closing on that property, and the closing fell through while all these other things were happening with people not paying us, and we ended up using part of that funding to kind of get caught up, and we just returned the rest because the house fell through. Well, that created a debt, so we shut down the business, and we're starting over in the negative. We were able to catch that up by selling off some of our rental properties, but we still had a small bit because our rental properties were wrapped up with a partner, so we had to split all that, half and half. And we were also trying to do it quickly so that we could just move on with our lives and start something new. As I mentioned, when we decide to do something, we just go for it. So we weren't waiting on the perfect situations or any of this kind of stuff. It was time to move on, so we were just done. Like I said, it wasn't the life that we had set out to create. We wanted to do something different. So I say all this to say we started the real estate journey essentially in the negative. So one of the things that we've got to tackle first before we actually are able to start working toward putting this money away in an investment is we've got to get the debts settled. And then of course we've got the usual stuff, the mortgage and the car payments. So we got to get all that handled. And then we're going to start pouring into our brokerage account, okay? The idea is if we can get that $1 million in the brokerage account, average rate of return between 8 and 10%, that'll be a healthy salary, and that'll create some freedom for us to where we're not having to work for every penny. We've also got to account for, stuff like rental income. So we've got the Airbnb. Now that is a very active rental property, meaning my wife is the one going over there and cleaning. I'm the one personally handling all the communication, all the bookings. We have to go out and do repairs, all this kind of stuff. So it's not a passive form of income in any stretch of the imagination, but it is reoccurring. So that will count toward this freedom salary that we're after. As far as my work here at the office, it's year one in real estate, and everybody told me that the first 6 months, most people don't get anything, and I didn't have time for that. So I took an incredibly aggressive approach. I got on YouTube, started learning, how do I get now business in real estate? I don't have time to wait for my brand to be developed. I don't have time to wait on these long-term marketing plans. I need now business. And it led me to cold calling. And I've been very successful with that. My initial target for the year was 4 deals a month. And I have hit that almost every month. Sometimes I've hit it more, sometimes a little bit less, but it has absolutely been enough to cover all of our expenses and a little bit, The recent addition is a lady in our firm has actually decided to join up with me. She likes what I'm doing. And so I gave her access to the software I'm using to make these cold calls and where I'm getting the data on the people that I am calling on. I gave her access to the coach I've paid for. I've got a marketing background, meaning specifically graphics. So I'm pretty good at all the Facebook graphics and print graphics, anything of this nature that we use to market both ourselves and our listings. So I've taken over all the marketing, and now I have a team member. Between the two of us, our goal is 8 properties a month. And of course, I'll get a small piece of any ones that she's associated with. So this is a portion of how I'm going to build up the real estate side. I did a short video of, one of the things that's been so helpful in keeping me consistent with the real estate part, and that is the habit tracker. And it is this simple. It's just a spreadsheet. The upper part is business, the lower part is personal. And that's what I use to track my progress, okay? The other thing that I do so that I can track my progress is every single listing appointment that I go on, and I'm a paper guy. If I get it on the internet or get it in my computer or in an app, it just gets lost in the sauce, and I don't use it. This stuff stays right in front of me all the time. This is the other thing that I do. I have documented every single appointment that I've been on. The highlighted ones are the ones where the people actually kept the appointment and met. The unhighlighted ones, I set the appointment, they called me later, next day, whatever, and canceled it and said, no, we don't want to deal with it. And then the ones that are highlighted all the way through are the ones that I actually taken. And then, of course, when I sell them, I put a star beside them. We've sold every single property that I've taken. I've got, because of this document, I've got a conversion rate. So I know what my conversion rate is and I know what I need to work on. I've got the same thing for my calls. I know how many calls it takes to get an appointment. I know how many appointments it takes to get one met. I know how many met appointments it takes to get one under contract. And then historically, everyone that I've gotten under contract has sold, because I am meticulous about making sure that the properties are priced well. It's something that I learned doing the investments, right? We would flip a house. If we didn't price it appropriately, it was going to sit, and we were using borrowed money. So that's interest that is accumulating, and that's dollars coming off of our bottom line. So it is advantageous to price those appropriately and get them gone. My wife, maybe back in October, maybe a little bit before, I guess it was quite a bit before, maybe about 4 months before we decided to quit the business, she started a party rental business. She took, some of our proceeds and just purchased a bunch of tables and chairs and decorations and things and put it out there on Facebook and just started renting them. And it has turned into an amazing little business. Not huge money, but it's consistent money. Every single weekend, she's renting out almost everything she has. And she's now been doing that for almost a year, and it's great. It's a side hustle. So we've got that, we've got the Airbnb, we've got my real estate, and I'm working on growing that and documenting that. And then we also got presented with a possible opportunity to get a venue. This would be a situation where we partner with a person that owns a building and they're not utilizing the building all that often, and they've opened it up for us to be able to come in and utilize the building when they're not. We're going to go in and upfit it the way that we need, and then anytime we rent it out, we'll split the proceeds with the owner. So this is a really neat opportunity because it's not going to create new overhead. It's not going to create new debt. It's just an opportunity for us to utilize a space, make a profit from that space, and then for the owner of that space, it's an opportunity for him to offset his overhead, and he don't have to lift a finger. So that's a developing opportunity, and those kind of things don't just happen. And it's not just luck either. It's relationships. It's the same way with how we've always funded our flips. It's relationships. We don't use banks. We don't use hard money loans. We have formed over the years relationships with individuals that have learned to trust our skill set, and they actually just lend us person to person the money that we need for our flips so that we don't have to pull it out of our pocket. They charge healthy interest rates, but that's expected and that's fine. I mean, they get their money and we get ours when we sell a property. It works out great. But all of these kind of opportunities come from relationships, consistency in always keeping your word and doing what you say, even when things don't go great. And I'll give you an example. So after we left the business and we're trying to kind of recover and get things going, and we're looking at what we've always done. Let's just pick up a couple of flips. We'll get a nice lump sum and that'll get us started. Well, if anybody's been watching the real estate market, things are still moving and selling, but it's not like it was. It's not 1 week, 2 week, 30 days. It's more like 60, 90 days to get something sold. But this happened recently. Well, we bought 3 properties within a month of one another. I guess it's been closer to the beginning of the year now. And because of the time it's take to sell them, our margin got slower and lower. And it messed us up. One of them is now our Airbnb. It was taking too long. The margin was getting eaten away. We had a conversation with our lender. And we said, hey man, can we try this? Let's Airbnb it. We'll start paying you interest-only payments, and we'll just refinance it, in a year. Would that be okay? And he agreed, again, because of relationship, right? He knows we're going to do the best thing, and if he wanted us to sell it, we would have. We just wouldn't have made as much money as we had set out to make. So now it's a long-term play. Well, the next property, we've got it finished and it's under contract, and we're going to make a little bit off of it. But the third property, it took a hit. It was taking way too long. The project got way too big. And just because of the time alone, our margin is getting slimmer and slimmer. So we made a judgment call recently to just let it go mid-stride, right? We're selling it half done. And we've got it sold. It'll close here in a couple of days. But we're going to take a loss on it. Just to walk away and not have to stress it. And that way we can focus on the real estate and my wife's business and the Airbnb, the three things that we know without a shadow of a doubt are working. We don't have to wonder how long it's going to take or any of that kind of stuff. We're just going to lick our wound and move on. And that's fine. It's the first time we've ever had to do that, but it happens. We've done maybe 30 flips and we've done amazing on all of them. This will be the first time that we've had to take a hit, and we're working it out. So we've got to take care of the hit and get back up from that. And we've got to get back up from taking the hit on when we left the business. And then we'll be able to start pouring in to the actual goal. So first things first, right? I mean, it's almost the Dave Ramsey's approach. We're going to snowball this thing. We're going to tackle these little outstanding things, get back up to a good place, and then we're going to start snowballing into the investments. The other thing, as you've noticed, is I'm starting to document this stuff on YouTube. I've always wanted to get a little more serious about making videos, and I've dabbled in it. We used to like to document our flips. If you're interested in seeing kind of what those looked like, the remodel process or anything of that nature, I got tons of videos about that. I also liked the idea of documenting how we built the construction company, but I didn't do a great job at that, because it was a lot to manage and I just wasn't able to get on there and make videos. But I've got some, I've got some from, a year or 2 years in. I've got, it's about every 6, 7, 8 months. There's a check-in video kind of sort of how that grew and developed and the changes that happened and the decisions that we made, and again, it's kind of unfiltered raw. But this is kind of such an interesting journey to me, and it's so personal to me, because even when we first decided to open the construction company years ago, and we took that big leap of faith and I left my job to start it and went full time, we didn't have our daughter at the time. We were renting at the time. We had debts, but they were car payments, a little bit of credit card debt, maybe student loans. I mean, it wasn't astronomical. And my wife had a job where she was carrying my insurance. So it just wasn't as hard. Well, now me and my wife have been fully dependent on our construction company and the other companies for so long now. We shut that down. Now we're depending on something that is super new, and then my wife's rental business. And that's what we're depending on for our insurance, for our mortgage, for our car payments, for my son who's now starting to drive, our new daughter. Our life has gotten bigger and we have no backup. There's no backup. I'm paying my own insurance, there's no security. Okay. So this has been even harder than that initial step to quit my job years ago, because this is it. We have to make this work. Okay. And again, I'm going on appointments, I'm setting listings, it is working, and we're getting good at it. And the addition to my team member is super exciting, because it opens up a way that I can leverage even somebody else's time, right? And they can leverage mine. It's the same, it's, vice versa. It's not a one-way street. And hopefully that'll make it to where this can grow a little bit quicker. So I'm really excited about this. I'm nervous about this. And I'm serious about this, right? We're done screwing around. We've made so many mistakes. When we were running the company, we were bringing in really good money, and we got lazy on the personal side. We got lazy with tracking our own personal finances, and our spending got crazy. I got lazy in my personal health, because I was running around in my truck all the time, just, stopping and eating crap food and, whatever. I just didn't have I say I didn't have time. I didn't make time to work out. I didn't make time to think about my eating, and we were just living life and keeping our head above water as far as lifestyle. And that ain't good. I mean, if you're making a bunch of money, but your health is going to crap, what's the point? So that's the other caveat here. It's like, this isn't just about money. I mean, this is like a whole life thing. Me and my wife both are back in the gym. We're on an eating regimen, just not anything crazy. We're just not being wild with the way we eat. It's high protein, low carb, little to no sugar, and it's made a difference. I've already lost 20 pounds. I got about 20 more that I'd like to lose, and that all came from just riding around in my truck, stopping and eating McDonald's or whatever because I was in a hurry to get to my next project. Well, now with the real estate thing, I've got a lot more control over my time and my schedule, and I'm able to pay attention to these things because it matters, I mean, if we make this $1 million journey work, great. But if I'm overweight, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, not able to enjoy anything because I don't feel good, then it's kind of a waste. So that's the other caveat. I mean, this is not just a one-way street. I mean, this is flowing into everything, even the house. Recently, I've been going through our entire house and minimizing. We've just got all this excess crap, right? And it's crap that we don't need, don't use, and I don't even know why we have it. And it's there causing clutter and chaos in our home life, which is supposed to be peaceful, right? No more. I've been going room by room, drawer by drawer, closet by closet, cabinet by cabinet, boom, getting it out of there so that we can be organized. It's simpler and easier to keep it clean, keep it maintained. I mean, I love our house. It's beautiful. We put a lot of work into it, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. I can't be the only one. We've just accumulated stuff over the years from moving, from whatever. It's time to let it go. I mean, when I say we're starting fresh on all fronts, down to cleaning out my truck, it's fresh, okay? It's exciting. It's scary. It's going to be good, but this is the deal. So my immediate goal is 4 listings a month for me personally, and I'd like my partner to do the same. We're tag teaming appointments, tag teaming follow-ups, tag teaming the listing process, and so far it's going really good. So I'm hoping to see that grow and expand. Looking really forward to the possibility of getting this venue up and running. I think that's going to help explode my wife's business. And then we're just keeping the one Airbnb rented out as much as possible. And so far that's been going really well. We got to do a little maintenance here and there and whatever, and that's fine. But that's the current goal, the current situation, the current reality that we're sitting in and facing. And it's all kind of forward, good momentum, but we're kind of clawing our way out of a bit of a mess, Nothing unmanageable. And it is something that we created by making the decisions that we made and by not paying attention to certain things. Well, now we're paying attention, I mean, I'm documenting everything down to my habits. I've got a drawer full with a file of all the months, so I know exactly what's going on. I've got a file full of all the appointments so I can go back and track exactly, what it takes to get to where I want to go. I've got a notebook that sits beside me here where I've documented, all the conversations, and then I transfer that into my CRM. It's fine. It's working. This is the journey, guys. It ain't all sunshine and rainbows, but it is very exciting and nerve-wracking, and I'm excited for you guys to follow along and, see how this thing transpires. And I'm hoping that a year from now, things are going to be in a completely different place. If we would have done this kind of tracking and measuring and taking care of our health when we were in the other business, we would have left that business in a much better spot. But we got comfortable, you can get comfortable in any environment. We had money coming in, and it was good money, and we got comfortable with that. And then we started, just enjoying and letting ourselves cut loose and being careless and frivolous, and we didn't monitor it. We can't do that and actually achieve a substantial goal. There was no way to get out of that cycle without a hard reset. This is the hard reset. It's extreme, but it's a hard reset, and we're gonna make this happen, and I'm looking forward to it. So I know this was kind of a longer video. I apologize. It's just, I wanted to go ahead and get this out here of exactly what the deal is and where we're at so that y'all can really follow along the journey. Because some of my stuff is tits and bits of what I've learned as far as, tips and tricks type things. where it's worked really well for me. And then some of this stuff is going to be, actual day-to-day journey. So this is the baseline. This is where we currently are. The goal is 1 million invested in any capacity. That could be real estate with a 10% return. It could be stock market with a 10% return. It could even be the event center. Anything invested that's going to be reoccurring where we're able to make that 8 to 10% margin will get us what we're after for that baseline freedom salary. Obviously, we're going to keep building, but that's the baseline, and that's what we got to get to. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this. I apologize for the babble, and we'll see you next time.